Okay, so in this session we're going to talk about freedom. Freedom. In the Haggadah, there is also some paragraph, very interesting one, that says the following: בכל דור ודור, in every generation, חייב אדם לראות עצמו, every person should see themselves, כאילו הוא בעצמו יצא עתה משעבוד מצרים. In every Pesach time, in every generation, everyone should see themselves that they now went out of Egypt, from the slavery in Egypt. What is freedom? Apparently it's obvious. America is the leader of freedom, right?
Yes.
In the place that I live, in New York, there is a statue, famous one, right? Statue of Liberty. And many people made a mistake that when we talk in Judaism about freedom, it's the same, like we think today what freedom is, okay? Okay, so let's learn what the Judaism point of view of freedom is. The opposite, if you want to learn something, it's always, one of the methods is to take the opposite. What's the opposite of freedom, of a free person, a free man? Slavery. The most horrible thing that could ever happen to someone, that if a mafia guy will come to him with a gun and tell him, listen, your past life, meaning what did you do until now, is over. Until now you're a free man, you decided what you want to do, you did it, and you got the benefit out of it, or the outcome, whatever it was, but you were the owner of yourself. From now on, I'm your owner. If you're not listening to me, I'm going to kill you. So the rule is going to change. From now, you're not making any decision about what are you doing. I'm making the decision. And you have to follow exactly what I said. And I'll make you work very hard. And the benefit of whatever you do is not going to you, it's going to go to me. The only thing that I'm giving you is the right to stay alive. That's it. What do you think about this deal? Many people, if they're checking out all the options and understood that there is no way either to die or to listen, many people will decide to die. Because there is no point. The essence of a human being is to be the owner of my life. If someone take by force my life, my freedom, there is no point to stay alive. So most of the people will say, no deal. Kill me. Now. Those who will agree, the minority, will do it only because they have hope that one day they could run away and regain their freedom, or that their wicked owner will die. There is a hope. If there is no hope whatsoever, no one will choose to die, to live this kind of life. So slavery is the most horrible thing that could happen to someone. In the modern world, after the Renaissance, it became a value in the world. And the United States of America is the leader of this, freedom in this generation. How do we define freedom? I'll tell it to you in a very extreme way. You know what freedom is? No one will tell me what to do. No one. I will do whatever I feel or whatever I want. This is freedom. Is that freedom according to the Torah? 100% no. And let me tell you a few quotes from the Torah. First of all, when Moses was witnessing this amazing sight of the burning bush, he was a shepherd. He never knew what kind of job God prepared for him. He woke up this morning, took the goats, and for another day, and then he saw this burning bush. And God appeared to him and said, I saw my nation suffering in Egypt. I want to make end to this, and you are the man that I'm going to send to take them out. Let me quote to you what the Torah says. Hashem told him, you're going to take them out of the slavery in Egypt. And he says the following, "Behotziacha et ha'am miMitzrayim," when you took the nation out of Egypt, ta'avdun et ha'elokim al ha'ar hazeh. You're going to bring them here. By the way, the burning bush was on Sinai mountain, when later on with the Torah, or Hashem will reveal himself there. That's why it's called Har Sinai, because the bush in Hebrew called sneh. A sneh bo'er bo'esh, Har Sinai. So you bring them back here, the entire nation, after you release them from the slavery in Egypt, and what you're going to do here? So the words of the Torah, ta'avdun et ha'elokim al ha'ar hazeh. You will serve God, or if you want to be more extreme, you'll be the slaves of God, ta'avdun, which is slavery. So forget about that we went from the slavery to freedom. We went from slavery to slavery. In Egypt, we were slaves of Pharaoh. But now we are not anymore slave of Pharaoh, but we are slave of God. But in the davening, in the tefillah, we said that every one of the major holidays of the Jewish in the Jewish calendar has a name. We have Pesach, we have Shavuot, we have Sukkot. But each one of them is defined. Shavuot is Zman Matan Toratenu. This is the time of the gather Torah. Sukkot is the time of Simcha, Zman Simchatenu, happiness. And Pesach is Zman Cherutenu. That is the definition. Pesach is the time that we went to be free. Really? How kind of free is this? You're going to Sinai, you got the Torah, and the Torah tell you exactly what to do in any given time, from the time you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep, from the time you're born until you die. Exactly what you have to do and what you do not have to do. So where's your freedom? Where's your freedom? You're not free.
Freedom of choice.
Okay, but I have to get to this. But there are instructions. You're not doing what you want. You're doing what's planned for you, what God wants you to do. So apparently it's just against freedom. More than that, there is a quote from the Talmud, from the Gemara. En lecha ben chorin ela mi she'osek b'Torah. You could not find any real free person, only the one who learned and performed the Torah. How could we explain this? So let's go in depth to understand what slavery is and what freedom is. Let's go back to this statement. You go outside here in America, ask people, how do you find freedom? No one will tell me what to do. In Hebrew you say, שאף אחד לא יגיד לי מה לעשות. אני רוצה לעשות מה שבא לי. I don't know how to say it in English. I want to do what I feel to do. But in Hebrew it's stronger. מה שבא לי. What come to me. And here I'm asking, where it's coming from? מה שבא לי. מאיפה זה בא? Where it's coming from? What do you mean, what do I want to do what I feel? When people do what they feel, let me check it out. Are they really free? Are they really free? It's coming from somewhere, right? And in a way, this is tricky because you think you do what you want, but in a way, you are forced to do it. Why? Why you do things? Because you got used to it. There is something called habits, right? Let me be more extreme. It's not just habit, and habits force you to continue in the habit. If you want to be a little bit more extreme, call it addiction. When you're addicted, you're not doing what you want. You have to do it. You cannot not do it. Are you really free? No. So we have to define what freedom is. What's freedom? In the Western society, the motives that make me do things are influenced by the following. Ego. My ego. I do a lot of things because of my ego. And if I think, I will change many of my spontaneous reaction that comes from the ego without, I mean, someone says something to you that you feel insulted. In many cases, you're out of control by the reaction. You just, and then when you think about it, you say, oh, I have to be more in control. But you have to be in control. If you're in control, you're free. If you are operated like a robot, because someone push a button and then you have the reaction, you're not free. You have the illusion that you're free. So, we are slaves of ego. We are slaves of status. We are slaves of habits. We are slaves of money, of desire. We're not free. So, if so, people will say, so, if so, there's no freedom in the world. If you define this as slavery. And here's the hope. There is a way to be really free. Really free. In order to be free, you have to ask yourself what's right and what's wrong. Not what do you think what's right and what's wrong, but what's really, objectively, a right way to behave or not the right way to behave. So in order to understand it, we have to understand what human being is. And here's the key. The Torah taught us, God who gave us the Torah, same God who created the world, same God who created us, taught us who we are. And one of the things that is a major obstacle in order to understand what freedom is, that people do not know who they are. Let me explain. The Torah described that when God created Adam, he combined them from two opposite elements. I'll quote you the verse in Bereshis, in Genesis. Second chapter, verse 7. ויצר השם אלוקים את האדם עפר מן האדמה, ויפח באפיו נשמת חיים, ויהי האדם לנפש חיה. When God created man, he created him dust from earth. That was the raw material to create the body of a human being, afar min adama, which is material. And to this body, he put a soul, a neshama. Body and soul are two opposites, two extreme opposites. If you could think about the two so far from each other elements, this is the body and the soul. Everything that interested the body, everything, not interested the soul whatsoever. And vice versa. And God took those two opposite elements, tied them together, sent them to this world and say, get along. Really. get along. It's impossible. When God did this combination of body and a soul, He created the most amazing job for psychologists and psychiatrists. Because we are in the middle, we have body and a soul. It's like two horses, but they're not going in the same directions. Imagine you're a chariot and you have two horses that push your chariot, right? But if those two horses standing this way and one going here and one going here, you're in the middle stuck. Whatever you do, someone will not be happy, either the body or the soul. If you do not understand that, you do not understand the first thing about human being. So how could you go to freedom and define what freedom is? We have to know that in each one of us, there are two forces that push us to different directions. And now let's define each one of them. A body. What is the body? The body is a material. Material is limited by time and space, and therefore, whatever interested the body or the material is the here and the now. Let me explain. Every material needs space in order to exist. And the space is limited, the material, to be from here to here. No material could exist in no space, or in two spots in the space at the same time. You are limited to be here. The other frame is the timeline. In the timeline you have three imaginary points: the past, the present, and the future. Every material on this line stands on one point: present. The past is over. The future is not here yet. So what you have is the now. So the now and the here are the limits of the material. Therefore, every material thing's interested only in those two things: the now and the here. I don't care about what happened. I don't care what's gonna be. Now, let's live the moment. Because that is the life. It's very short life, the moment of the material. If you understand that, you understand the physical needs. Physical needs. And here we have a common denominator between us and animals in the body part. Take a human being, take an animal. Put them next to each other. Now you could choose any animal that you want. Make a list of needs that in common, you'll find a long list that we have in common with animals. They need to eat, to drink, to be in the right temperatures, to rest, in order to function. Now, continue the list and choose human needs that are not exist in the animal world. You could continue the list, right? You could find exclusive human needs. Now we have to know that only those needs, the exclusive needs of human, are a human needs. The needs that in common between us and the animals are not in us because we are human, but because we are part of the living realm. We're living creatures. Now here's the problem. All those human needs, according to the Torah, comes not from the body. Because if it was a body needs, it should be by the animals also. If it's exclusive to a human being, it means that there is in a human being something that does not exist by the animals. And this is the soul. So let's say needs like integrity, truth, meaning, they're exclusive, they're human beings. And here's the problem. As I said, there are opposites. Where will be the checking point, the test? Take a lion. a hungry lion. There is such a thing. Hungry lion. Sometimes they got hungry. So he got a signal from his needs, I'm hungry. So he saw a bunch of goats. Oh, nice dinner. Hunt, kill, eat. Good. Now take a human lion. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Happen to people sometimes too. I want to eat. So I see food. Good. But here's the problem. It's not yours. It's belonging to someone else. And this is the only food around. If you take it, you're going to be a stealer. So if you're a lion, it's not a thing to take in calculation. What do you mean it's not mine? I'll make it mine. But if you're a human being, there is an inner voice inside you, very annoying one, that said, you know what, you're hungry, but you're not going to be a stealer because of this, right? And it will be a fight inside. It will be a battle between me, between my body that I love very much, but my soul also that I identify with. And now I have no choice but to make a decision. I hate to make decisions, but I have no choice. What I'm gonna do? My body wants it, but my personality told me, listen, you're a human being. You cannot steal. You cannot murder. You're not a lion. You cannot just murder a goat in order to eat it. This is the if you want to pinpoint where a human being is, it's here. It's right here. How do you make a decision? It's hard. First, you have to use your mind. And therefore, God gave us a gift called ability to think. It's not just a gift. It's an obligation. You got intelligence, you got ability to think. It's not just a gift, you have to use it. So you have to verify to yourself what's right and what's wrong. And here's also, it's very tricky. Because when you have interest, let's say a body has some interest in something, a physical need, it's very hard to be objective to judge if it's right or wrong. You always, the more you want it, you actually blind in a way to make an objective decision what's right and what's wrong. So you could maneuver what's right and what's wrong based on your interest. Then you twist your ability to think straight. Freedom is first be honest and verify what's right and what's wrong objectively as much as you can. This is the first thing. After you know, and there are ways to know what's right and what's wrong objectively, then you have a problem. You know what you should do. But now in order to adjust yourself to what you have to fight your habits, fight your interests, if truth is important for you. If you do not know what's right and what's wrong, you have no free will. You're not a free willer. It's like forces that forcing you to do this or this or this, and you're a slave of the forces. But you feel that you do whatever you want. But you know what? You do not know who you are. It's true that you want to do it, but only part of you want to do it, the physical. You're ignoring your spiritual part. And therefore it could easily give you the illusion that you want it. But you do not know who you are. Freedom is first of all be aware of the two sides in every human being. First of all. The other thing, what is the right way? What is the truth? If you do not know either one of those two things, you are not a free willer. And this is the thing of getting the Torah Getting the Torah is not, you have to understand this, Torah is not a wisdom of people who wrote it during the generations. Because people could be wrong. Even smart, very smart people, very honest people, if they decide what things are, if they will have more information, let's say if they were in our generation with the technology, they have to take it into account in their system, and maybe values will change their way. So what we claim as Jews, that the Torah is not a human wisdom. It's the truth of the creator of the universe, and no one more than him knows what's right and what's wrong. So when we get the Torah, we get the option to choose. Because when you know what's right, you could now have a free will to take it in account or not, or to ignore it. This is a free will. Let's go back to Egypt to understand what Egypt is. The Egyptian, I want to go back to those words in the Haggadah Shel Pesach that I quote in the beginning. So the Haggadah says the following: in every generation, bechol dor vador, chayav adam lirot et atzmo. Every Jew has to look at himself like he now went out of Egypt. You know what that means? That Egypt is here. Egypt, in every generation there is an Egypt. So we have to understand what Egypt is. Egypt is not just a name of a place in the old world. Egypt is a philosophy. Philosophy. And this philosophy is relevant to every generation. Let me explain the philosophy of Egypt. What is Egypt? Egypt defined in the 10 Commandments, in the first commandment, Egypt defined a house of slavery. Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzaticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim. So Egypt is a house of slavery. What the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? Everyone in Egypt was a slave, not just the Jews. If you remember, at the time of Yosef, before the Jews went, before Yaakov and his son went to Mitzrayim, even in Sefer Bereshit, at the time of Yosef solved the dreams of Paro, and he told them in advance, it's going to be 7 good years, and after that there will be 7 not too good years with famine, right? So it was a famine, and the Torah described what happened when the beginning 7 not good years started. It was a famine all over. So the Torah described that the Egyptian in Egypt came to Paro, the king, and told them, we have nothing to eat, there's a famine. So Paro told them, don't worry, go to my minister of treasury, the Jew called Yosef. He was the first Jewish minister, treasury minister. Go to him. So they went to Yosef, and Yosef said, don't be panicked, it's okay. We have enough food for everyone, but it belongs to the king. So it's just a matter of money. You could buy everything. Don't worry about it. Just give money, you'll get the food. So the Torah described that in the first year of the 7 years, the Egyptian citizens bought food in order to exist in the famine. This year was over. All the money gone. There's no money by the citizens anymore. They waste all their money to buy food. So they came the second year. Well, what are we going to do now? So Yosef told them, don't worry. You have possessions? Give possessions. Give your rechush, your possessions. And the Torah described that in the second years they give all their possessions in order to get food. But after this year we have another 5 years of famine. What are we going to do? So the Egyptians came to him in the 3rd year. And the Torah described this. There's no money. There's no possessions anymore. We're going to die? You know what? We have a suggestion for you. Buy us as slaves to Paro and feed us as slaves. And that, what happened? The Torah described this. So any one of you who think that Egypt called Beit Avadim because the Jews were it's not correct. The Egyptian citizens were slaves. to Paro. Now, how do you run, as a king, a country of slaves? A very interesting method. You're a slave, but you know, when you're a slave, you could do things with resistance. So I have to make way to make you motivated. So the way it works is the following. Do you know what pyramids is, right? Let's take the model of the pyramids. In the first row, on the bottom, there are many, many bricks. But then you go to the second row. The second row, on 2 bricks, you put 1. So then, okay? Then you go to the third row. Again, the same method. 2 bricks, 1. So it goes like this until it's got to the top. What's in the top? The king. So the way the motivation would was the following. It's like hierarchy in the army. You'll be a good soldier. You're a soldier. You have to do whatever. You know, army is army. You have to do what your commandment told you. Don't argue. If you'll be a good soldier, you'll become an officer. Then many slaves will be under you, and you'll be in higher rank, right? And this way, you're going to go from row to row to row to row. It's a good motivation, Riyad. But you're still slave. You haven't understand. You're still slave, but you're a higher rank slave. That's the way it works. In a way, this is the way it works today. Not just in the army, in the society. Be a good worker, you'll get better salary. We'll put worker under you, but you're a slave. You're a slave, but you have the illusion that you're not slave. But you are a slave. You have to have money. Why? Because there are things that you must have, which is lie. You do not have to. You know who was the first slave in the world? As a punishment for something. The first slave. The first man. What was the punishment of Adam after he sinned? The first sin. Or few things. But one of them, yeah. What was it? Yeah, but aside from that, that's one of them. Have to work hard in order to get food, right? It says, you know, the punishment for the first sin was so terrible, so horrible. Until now, we're suffering from it. God told Adam in the Garden of Eden, you see all the trees in the Garden of Eden? All of them is for you. I made you with a body who needs to eat. And look, all the supermarket, all the trees are for you. There is one tree that I'm not letting you eat from it, and you have to know that if you will eat from it, you're gonna die. So was a snake over there who told them the story, even though God said, don't eat, I'm telling you eat, and they listened to him, and they ate. And then they brought on themselves death, which is a whole story to explain that now. But one of the implications of the sin was, I'm quoting, God says to Adam, because you did this, arura ha'adama ba'avurecha, the land, the ground will be cursed because of you. Be'itzavon tochlena, it will be hard for you to get food from the ground. בזיעת אפיך תאכל לחם עד שובך אל האדמה כי ממנה לוקחת. When God created man, as I said before, he created him from 2 parts. Dust from earth, which is his body, and the soul. So he told them, because you ate from this tree that I told you not to, you're going to go back to be a dust. But, and here's the trick, I will make in you a drive to stay alive. And in order to stay alive, you need to eat. And the food will not come easy to you because the earth that give you the food will be cursed. So it will be hard to lehotzi lechem min haaretz, to take bread out of the ground. But because your urge to stay alive, you have to work hard in order to make a living. And you will do it. And you will live day, another day, another day, another day, until you die. Meaning, you're going to die anyway. But until you die, you'll have the urge to stay alive. And it will not be easy for you to stay alive until you die, but at the end, you're going to die. Terrible. Terrible. You're going to die anyways. But you have an urge to stay alive until you die, and it will not be easy. So the first slave was Adam. Not just him. All his descendants, meaning all of us. We're under this curse. In Egypt, as we said, they become extra slaves. Every free man is a slave. In Egypt, there were slaves to Paro, which is a slave by himself. What Paro thought about himself? So it says in the prophet Yechezkel HaNavi got a message from God to Paro that was in his time, in Egypt, that in his time, many years after Moses and after Yetzias Mitzrayim, after Exodus. I'll quote to you a pasuk, a verse from Yechezkel HaNavi. He speaks to Paro, and he called him the following: Hineni elecha, Paro melech Mitzrayim. I have a message to you, Paro, the king of Egypt. Hatanim hagadol harovetz betoch yorav. You are like a crocodile who are lying in the river. Haomer, let's say, li yeori va'ani asitini. The river is mine, okay, but the other thing is completely insane. Ani asitini, I made myself. It's crazy how anyone could say such a thing. What do you mean you made yourself? If you made yourself, before you made yourself, you were not exist. If you didn't, it was not exist. Who made you? What do you mean I made myself? You could say about Paro a lot of things, but stupid he was not. So what is the meaning of this? The Egyptians in Egypt has many gods. And here we have to understand what God is. In Hebrew, God are two letters, Aleph Lamed, El. El is a power. Like when Yaakov was chased by Lavan, Lavan approached him and he said, Yesh le'el yadi la'asot lachem me'uma. I have in my might, in my power, to do something to you. So El is a power. When God created the world, the creator is the major power. The power is to make the entire creation from nothing. This is real power. But when God created the creation has two parts, which called in the first verse in the Tanakh, Shamayim va'aretz. Aretz is not planet Earth. It's all the physical realm in the universe. That's called Aretz. There are a reason, again, it's not the time now. Very interesting reasons, but I need a lot of more time to explain this. Aside from the physical realm, there is a spiritual realm called Shamayim. Now, if you take the lower part, which is the physical, as we said, physical are limited by time and space, and therefore physical are passive, and they are lifeless. It's a dead entity. But it's a raw material that spiritual forces could maneuver an engine and make works. So, relatively to the dead passive entity, which is the material, relatively to this, the spiritual powers that could move it are powerful. Therefore, the Shamayim are the El, the power. anything that could power or maneuver or manage called El. Now, in Egypt, if you know the geography, Egypt located in a very desert climate. Right? It's near Sahara Desert. But part of Egypt, the east part of Egypt, is very flourish. No rain in Egypt. It's flourished because of the Nile River. The Nile River could give people ability to make agriculture. Therefore, the Nile were one of the gods of Egypt because it gives them ability to exist. The Nile was one of their gods. Paro, of course, it says in the Medrash that Paro made himself God. What do you mean, made yourself God? Because I am the head of the slavery kingdom. Everyone is listening to my commandments, meaning I am the God. My Nile, and that's what he said. Li Yaori, I am the king of this place, and the Yaor is mine. The Nile River is mine. What is the meaning of Ani Asitini? I made myself. It's not I made myself. I made my status. Everything that you see, I did. Now, because he is God, and according to his philosophy, and the Nile is God, when Moses came to him first and told him, Elohei ha'ivrim shlachani elecha, the God of the Hebrews sent me to you, shalach et ami. What was the response of Paro? Mi Hashem asher ashma b'kolo. Who is he that I will listen to him? Lo yadati et Hashem, I do not know him. Therefore, I'm not going to listen to this. So Paro was the denier of any other force. He said, I'm the king here, I'm the God here, I'm not listening to any other one. So what Moshe told him? Listen, I'm talking to you in the name of the creator of the universe. Be careful. Don't play games. You're gonna pay a price. He didn't listen. He said, I don't know him. So Moses told him, you do not know him? It's just a matter of lack of knowledge? No problem, I'll teach you. And he got 10 lessons. And he learned in the hard way. But then he knew. At certain point he said, Hashem HaTzadik v'ani v'ami HaRashaim. He is the righteous one and I'm a wicked one. But he didn't change his mind until he got all 10 lessons. Now, the philosophy of the Egyptians are, why he denying God? Because they say, I don't see him, I don't know him. He was a denier of any spiritual force. I am the real God. You can see me, you see the Nile, me here, that's it. That's what we have. So the philosophy of the Egyptians, that everything that's visible, tangible, something that the senses could grasp, exists. Other things, we do not know about them, meaning it's not serious. When Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and now the Jews in Egypt were slaves, not just building buildings. They were slaves in their philosophy. The Medrash says that halalu of the avodah zarah v'halalu of the avodah zarah. The Egyptians were idol worshippers, and the Jews that were there were idol worshippers. Meaning, when you live in a society for generations, talking about a few hundred years, children that have children, they become part of this culture. So they believed now in what the Egyptian believed. Taking them out of Mitzrayim is taking them out of this philosophy. What was the philosophy? There's only material in reality. And it's up to you. If you work hard, you could get progress, become higher rank, but everything is in the material. If that's reminds you of the philosophy of the modern world, don't blame me. But this is it, right? Work hard, become a millionaire, become a billionaire, right? This is what drives people today. Physical, money, in dollar we trust, right? That's what's written in the dollar. In dollar we trust. This is the God. This is the God. In Egypt, God proves that there is a force that controls physical. It's not for power. Power is a lost case. The lesson of Egypt was for the Jews, as Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu in the 8th plague, the Arbe. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, "Ulman tesaper beozne bincha uven bincha et asher italalti b'Mitzrayim." All those 10 lessons is not for Paro. Paro is a lost case. He's not important here. I want to teach the world. I want to teach your children, meaning the Jewish nation, for generations, bincha uven bincha, to the end of days, that the real power in the world is not the physical, but there is something above it that controls it. And this is Egypt. And this is Yetziat Mitzrayim. This is the Exodus, the getting out of this bubble. Because they live in the bubble. They live in the pyramid. There is something above the pyramid. That was Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why it's above? Because when you're in the pyramid, you're a slave without even knowing that you're a slave. You have the illusion that you see, I'm successful. I got a degree, I have a good salary, and I have a good status, and everyone respected me. Who respects you? Other slaves like you, not under you. They respect you. Because you're a good slave. You proved yourself as a slave. But you're still a slave. There is something above it. They deny, that this philosophy deny God, deny spirituality whatsoever, God and the soul. And therefore they live only partial life. They live in the bubble. They live in the pyramid. We went out of it. We are out of the box and we could see what real freedom is. What is the real freedom? When you see two sides. First of all, when you see them. When you do not see very important part of you and the world, you're completely blind. You know, in the blind world, people could think this is reality. They never saw a light in their life. For them, this is reality. When you see the light, you see something above darkness, aside from darkness, you're already real. You're in a real reality. But that's only the beginning. Now you see that there are two parts, physical and non-physical. Not just outside, but inside of you. After you realize that, you have to realize that those two are not natural partners. Actually, they pushing, moving, pulling you to opposite directions. But each one of them is you. And you should identify with both. What are you going to do? You must, let's take the example of the chariot of the two horses. There is a chariot, which is you. You is the chariot. Now, you're here in order to make a progress, to move. But you cannot move. Because one horse stubborn going this way, and the other one go to the other way. So what do you have to do? Tell you what you have to do. You have to take those two horses and try to push them slowly but surely that they will go to the same direction. It's very hard. But this is the art of life. This is a project. To make those two opposites works in harmony. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. But this is it. This should be the goal. That they go to the same direction, helping each other. Then, instead of being torn between two that take you to different, you join forces and you go with a full speed ahead. This is freedom. This is a real freedom. Be aware of your spiritual side. Understand that it's in clash with your physical. And try to make them work in harmony. Now, I have to tell you that there is one more stubborn horse over here. And this is the physical. The spiritual is more flexible. You know what? He wants to be in spiritual, but he could work with the physical. He is more flexible. The physical really do not want to bother to work with the spiritual. And this is our main problem. To take our physical needs, train them. It's a hard work, but it's possible. You have to educate, to teach the stubborn horse to work in standards, to work in plan. He doesn't have any plan. He doesn't have any plan. He's not have a direction. Because he's material, he's working in the here and the now. So he feels to eat now, he will stop. He will not even go. Eat. If he is a he horse or a she horse, if they will see, let's say, a he horse see another she horse around, he will move the project. He will go to the she horse. He doesn't have plans. He works on the instant and in the moment. So it's hard. You have to educate. Listen, you have a job. Leave them aside. Concentrate in your job. It's a hard work. But that is our job in life. This is the meaning of life. Let me tell you something. When God created man, it says, "Vayitzer Hashem Elokim et Adam." No, before Hashem created man, he said, "Naaseh Adam b'tzalmeinu kidmutenu." Adam was created at the 6th day of the creation, at the end, after everything else were created. The last one to be created was a human being. And when God created him, he said before, I don't want to create another creature. I want now to create a special creature. And this creature will have something that no one else of the creatures has. He will be in the image of God. What do you mean the image of God? God is not physical. So what do you mean image? Image is similarity. It's not physical, it's similar. In what way we're similar to God? God is almighty. No one tell him what to do. So he created in us these feelings in our character that we are the owners of our lives. We are doing what we think. No one will for the free will, actually. The bottom line, to be in the image of God, meaning to be a free willer. The same way he is free willer, he make us free willers. When God created man, he created him in his image. You know what the meaning of this? All the creatures in the world are creatures. Human being is a creature who is creator. Because he's the image of God. He is a creator. He creates us as creators. Question is, what do you have to create? Everything is done. What do we have to create? Listen to this. This will be the bottom line of this show, of this lecture. What we have to create, we have to create ourselves. And he gave us the spices, all the tools. There are two tools, body and soul. Now create yourself. Create yourself. Be aware of those two. Understand they're opposite. Your job is to create them working in harmony. And you have to know that, as I said in the former class, since the beginning of the time, since Hashem created the first man to the end of days, will be no two people that will be the same exact. Everyone has different powers in the body, physical power and spiritual power. And therefore, my job is exclusive to me. No one could do it for me. No one could do the same. I'm very unique. And my job here is to create myself. This is a real freedom. And this is the meaning that in every day we have to get out of Egypt. Get out of the bubble. In Hebrew, Mitzrayim, Yud Mem, the letters Yud and Mem, at the end of the word, in every word in Hebrew, make singular to plural. Like Yad, Yadayim, Ozen, Oznaim, Regel, Raglaim, Yud Mem, right? So Mitzrayim has this too. Yud Mem at the end, right? So what's the base? If you take the Yud Mem out, Meitzar. What is the Meitzar? A fence, a concealment. Mitzrayim is a concealment. And in every generation we have this. We live in the pyramid. We are trapped in the pyramid. And we have to get out of it. This is the meaning of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And that's what we have, and that's what the Agadah told us. In every generation you have to get out of Mitzrayim. Gain your freedom. Be yourself. Don't be a slave. That's it. Thank you.